Good evening. Welcome to the June 25th meeting of the Planning Board, Northampton. We begin our meetings with an opportunity for public comment, preferably if you're commenting on the agenda items, wait and hold those comments when we open the public hearing on those items. But if anyone else has something they want to bring to our attention, now's the time. Seeing none, we'll move into the first agenda item. Do I hear a move to open public hearing, or is there a presentation first? Well, it would be the same. Yeah. I'll go ahead and move to open the public hearing for me.
Second.
I don't think I get to do it.
Second. Yeah, there's a presentation probably from the applicant.
Is this Ryan Road?
It
Yep.
is.
Sure.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm
What's
Bob
that?
Aubert.
And your address?
The address tonight that we're discussing is 619 Ryan Road.
No, it's actually yours.
My
Yeah.
physical address, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
47 West Chestnut Hill Road, Montague, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And this is my
I'm
partner,
Eric
Eric
Olson.
Olson.
My address is 201 Park Hill Road, Florence, Mass.
Thanks.
So I believe you have all the paperwork.
We do. We've got the layout for the requested.
So we're here to request a proposed shared driveway permit along with the approval of our proposed flag lot marked on the plan submitted by Harold Eaton and Associates. We've got marked pretty clearly along with some visual aids that we presented in your package as well to show the existing driveway in place that would share access and access to both lots, excuse me. We also prepared a driveway maintenance agreement to go with this, to define the responsibilities for both property owners.
The driveway meets all the regulations for a shared driveway with the correct pull-offs, and the building lot itself is, outside the 100-foot wetlands
Buffer zone.
buffer zone.
Be happy to respond to any questions.
I was looking in the package that you submitted for you noted in the section in the back that it had met the Conservation Commission. Do you know when that was?
It didn't, where did it?
I don't believe it was required.
It's not required because there's no, the building site is actually outside of the 100-foot buffer.
There was,
The driveway's existing.
right. The issue of the driveway was brought before the Conservation Commission, and the note that I have from that planning office person that runs that committee says that the driveway was widened last year, which was why the gravel appeared to have been there for some time, but would be a wetlands violation nonetheless, and that additional bump outs have been added within the last week. So it seems to me that what we're faced with, we can continue to discuss the granting of the flag lot permit, but it would seem likely that we would have to do that contingent on it going to CONSCOM and determining if there is a wetlands violation. The other alternative we could do is just say we're not going to rule on it until that permit is taken. And so it's at your pleasure as to whether we want to discuss it tonight and see if this is the only issue about the property, or if, sort of give them indication of what we would think about it when we come back to vote on it. Or if you all choose, we could vote on it with the contingency. Mark?
So you never went to CONSCOM because you didn't think you needed to, and so we don't have any, we didn't have initially in staff comments any formal comments from CONSCOM because there was no CONSCOM meeting. Right. But subsequent to that, there's been some finding from them.
So we should hear from the
Yeah,
applicant.
yes.
We had calls, just to give you a background, so we had calls from neighbors
saying work was going on, had gone on the property, with calls from the previous owner who said that. So you clearly want to hear what.
Sure.
So, I mean, we didn't have the driveway widened. What we did is we had the driveway, we just had gravel put on top of it because it hadn't been maintained. The pull-offs, the front was already existing. We just cleared out the brush and the overgrowth and put some material on top of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, there was no real widening of anything. There was a small area outside of the buffer zone, closer to the house, where we did add a little bit of gravel, but it was clearly outside of the marked buffer zone, which wouldn't really require any permit. We're well within our right to just maintain the existing driveway out to the head of the road. We did approach the Conservation Commission prior to submitting this permit, and even approaching the planning board to ask what was required to move forward on this. And we were told that based on the existing plan we had utilizing the existing driveway, that there was no conservation permit required. So if there was a grumbling neighbor because we were maintaining an existing driveway, then, I believe we're well within our right.
Yeah, I think at issue is whether it is within the boundary of the existing driveway.
Yeah.
Well, basically what it was to put, the driveway hadn't been maintained in I don't know how long, but it had a lot of, ruts and divots and stuff in it. So we needed to put just top level material on it and have it flattened out.
Yeah.
But there was no widening. I mean, we did clear the overgrowth that had grown over the driveway that was climbing. There's a telephone pole that runs down there with electrical wires. So we cleared a lot of trees out there that had grown up into the wires. But I guess we still felt that was maintenance and not, we didn't expand the driveway or.
Yeah.
And the pull-off in the front was all there. We basically, in some cases, we didn't add material. We actually just flattened it or, took out the
Raked it out.
plans.
Right.
And raked it out, yeah.
So that's your presentation, and we'll open it up for public comment now. We'll open the hearing, so we'll take public comment. If anyone wants to speak on this matter, you guys are free to sit down now. Thank you. And comments, come up, state your name and address.
Lisa Metz, 616 Ryan Road.
There's the buffer line, right here. This thing.
So apparently they're saying it was just maintenance, but it appeared to have been, people saw them widening the road. The problem is that is wetlands there, and apparently that road should probably never been put in initially. And ever since then, we've had terrible drainage problem on Ryan Road. Apparently when they first put the driveway in, Jim Dostal, who's my neighbor, who would have been here tonight, but he just had surgery, had them put some fill underneath the original driveway to just try to, divert some of the water. But over the years, that's just, disappeared, and the flooding has gotten, I've had to add 2 sump pumps to my cellar. My cellar was actually destroyed at some point. I had a finished cellar. And the drainage in my backyard is just getting worse and worse. So I'm just concerned that we're going to continue to have more water problems, because I've probably been there 20-something years. And initially, when I moved there, I had no water. But it just keeps continuing to get worse and worse.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Anyone else comment? Okay, move to close public hearing.
So moved.
Mark, Tess. Okay, discussion?
Could you repeat what Concom said?
So this is Conscom staff. So this was, we had a few calls from various neighbors and from the previous owner. We said work was taking place on the driveway, expanding the footprint, so not just on the footprint. And that would be a violation. Sarah Valley staffs, the Conservation Commission, looked at it early on in the project a couple weeks ago, and at that point it seemed like it was just crowning up the road. But it sounded like more work may have happened after that point. My suggestion for you all is, I think it's fine to issue a permit if that's the only issue, but I would do it as a condition saying no work can take place, and probably not even record the permit, so it's not on the land records, until they get an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission.
Do they have wetland flagging down on the property?
They did not have any wetlands flagging that was approved by the Conservation Commission, so nothing's gone before the commission in several years. They may have done something internal, I don't know the answer, but not that we approved.
So that's one alternative, is that we can approve the permit contingent on, or we can say we want that determination done before we issue the permit.
I don't have, the only issue I had looking at it was the potential of the impact to the buffer, to the wetland. But from staff comments and so forth, it seemed like there was little perceptible impact to the resource area. So based on that, I didn't see this as being much of an issue, and ultimately it may not be an issue, but I would think we could make that a condition and say, go ahead with the approval contingent on the CONSCOM signing off on it.
So it does meet the geometry of the lot.
Right.
We've all agreed on that, and staff has offered up that opinion. There was, if there's anything else, the issue went before Jim Larilla had no comment from the DPW. And so that's it. I think we have to decide which way we want to go on it. I'm sorry, we've closed the public comment period.
Well, yeah, I think I would move to approve the site plan and special permit for the flag lot with a shared driveway at 619 Ryan Road, Florence, subject to the approval of the Conservation Commission.
Second? All in favor? Okay. So do you understand the assignment? Okay, thank you. And you see that there does have to be a determination? Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Who made the motion second for just to close the public hearing?
Mark.
Mark and John.
Okay, thanks.
Carolyn wouldn't have asked that question.
I know, she's with me. There's no question. Or she would have made it up.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
time.
I wasn't going to say that. We've got 2 minutes before we can open the next, we follow the agenda time, so.
There's no minutes to look at.
Correct.
There aren't.
I'll give any more
I would-
images we could look at? or-
I would mention, though, that I think we have seen more minutes than are posted to the website. Could I ask that somebody sort of check on that? 'Cause
Yes, there's a technical problem, which is some things get posted and then disappear, so we're trying to figure it out before we spend a lot of time posting.
Okay, right.
Carolyn wouldn't have said that.
Because I was going to look for the collateral assignment.
You're like the Rodney Dangerfield of planning, yeah. No respect.
So remind me, did we do the collateral assignments before Mark handed this over?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Carolyn did do
Yeah,
that.
she posted,
Yeah.
yeah, the final.
I think I get out of one, and I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Yeah, was anybody not here that night and got stuck with
Yeah.
something?
Somebody wasn't here.
I think it's this, I think it's the community preservation.
I got something.
I think it's the community.
What's the date?
I guess someone will contact me when it's.
Mark, do you have a record?
So usually
Who's
it's
CPC?
someone coming for a hearing.
Still.
You guys would
Who's TPC?
review
How's you?
1 to 3 months.
Transportation.
Wayne and Ann.
Ann,
That's right.
thank you.
No, I thought I was something. I'm sure I,
Agreed to meet with
oh, right over here,
Okay.
education, housing, land use.
Get her- Okay, now that the clock allows us to, we'll open the second agenda item of a site plan amendment for the YMCA plantings at 286 Prospect Street. Can I get a move to open public hearing?
So moved.
John Lutz, second by Tess Poe.
Is there a presentation first from,
You know, it seems to me the presentation would be in the open hearing.
Yes.
That's kind of, I was thinking, that way that people are provoked to ask questions.
You don't sound like you need a motion.
I don't?
jump right in?
Ah. Hi there.
Whoops.
Introduce yourself once again.
I am Michael Liu with the Berkshire Design Group.
I'm Michael.
And I'm here for the amendment to the site plan. This amendment involves redesign of some plantings along Massasoit Street. Excuse me. To date, none of the plantings that were originally in the plan had been done. The site work was done kind of late in the fall, and it was anticipated that planting would happen this year. But then with a couple of changes that they wanted to do for Massasoit, I think that the planting is going to lapse until, end of summer or into the fall of this year.
But it is this season?
Yes, yes. So, this involves some redesign, again, of screen plantings along Massasoit Street between the parking lot and the street. I did bring some photos and stuff, but they're on a thumb drive, and we probably don't need them. You're probably all familiar with the area. The proposal right now is to create a 30-inch berm covered with a planting of microbiota, which is a similar texture to low junipers. Originally, there was a hedge, kind of a staggered hedge, with leucothwy, which is a evergreen shrub. What we had come to learn was that that plant was not suitable for the area because of snow being piled along that stretch. And that plant is marginal. It does pretty well in Northampton, but it is a marginal plant and probably couldn't withstand snow being kind of like dumped on it. So we changed the design to a berm to get some height, and then covering it with a 12 to 15-inch microbiota, which is commonly called carpet cypress, Siberian carpet cypress. That's the proposal. The proposal also involves repositioning 2 elm trees to more or less continue the canopy along Massasoit Street. If you're going into the Y facility in the parking lot, directly to the left, there's kind of an open stretch of the landscape median, and then beyond that there's 6 or 7 or 8 Norway maples of various sizes, and they more or less form a canopy there. But then right next to the driveway, it's kind of open. We'd like to position 2 maple trees in that open area to continue the canopy. They were positioned in other places previously. One of them, which we didn't really learn until recently, that there's a guy wire right there between the Y and the next property up on Massasoit. So it wouldn't be a good place to plant a shade tree because of that fact. But probably using the elm trees as canopy trees along Massasoit to continue that stretch would be a better use of those trees as well. And then there's also an added maple tree at the service dumpster area that faces onto Massasoit. So that would kind of give some more screening of the facility there to the residents.
Is there any concern about repositioning 2 trees that it would seem to be right in the view of people turning in and out of why
I think that area is open enough, and you can kind of see under the canopies of those trees. These trees, obviously, it might take a little while for them to get up, but the typical procedure is to kind of let them grow. At least that's what I like to do, is let the canopies kind of grow out for 2 or 3 years, and then before you start, you might be pruning up the bottom branches.
John, Mark.
In general, I have no issue with this at all. My only concern, I guess, was in a general sense, this is similar to that berm that we approved for the Fairfield Inn on Con Street. And I think in the renderings, it looked great. In reality, it looks like a big mound of mulch, you know what I mean, with a couple trees on top. And so we have plantings here, but there's no ground cover around the plantings, under the plantings, right?
The plantings on the berm would form basically a ground cover. they would cover, they would eventually cover the berm. So it
Okay, so
wouldn't-
these aren't 15, 18, I'm envisioning a 15 to 18-inch tall planting spaced every, whatever, 5 feet.
Yeah, I
With a,
think
with a
roughly.
bare patch of mulch in between
Sure.
that'll take 15 years to grow together.
Well, we actually talked about that and the fact that, you know, it was more desirable to have a thicker planting, but eventually they will grow together. This plant, if you're standing at the Smith College Botanical Garden, or before you go into the conservatory, right to the left of the building, there's a planting bed full of this stuff, and it grows, it does spread, and so it will grow together eventually. And, you know, I mean, before it gets to that point, obviously, I was talking to the folks at the Y, that they, you know, they'd have to periodically add mulch and stuff to control weeds and so forth. But it wouldn't look like the Fairfield implanting, and that I think the planting is gonna be much more dense than that berm over at the hotel.
Is there parking along the street right there?
No, not on that side.
Not on that side, okay.
So the planting in plan view, it's diagrammatic, but is the intent for the plantings to go from one side to the other and not just sit on top of the berm? Yeah, okay.
So what we really want to know is how long it'll take it to grow together.
Well, I think only one person might be able to answer that.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, it does, you seem to be making a genuine effort to put in enough to cover it, and I think that's our concern. On top of the 30-inch berm, you've got another foot?
Yeah, let's call it a foot. They typically, you know, it's a plant that grows about this tall.
Right.
But, it, you know, it tends to start to spread.
And so you are stopping that so that the tree canopy is, I mean, in other words, that's not going to cause the problem John's worried about as you look down the street to see if traffic's coming.
The berm's actually going to be set closer to the parking lot edge than the street side. So I think that once you pull out, you'll still have good view looking, you know, in both, well, obviously in both directions, but
Right.
more so to the.
So what's
the
going to be
west.
on the street side?
That's going to just be the grass that's there now, and then the existing Norway maples, which actually form, you know, they've been limbed up, but they do form some shade there. Has a canopy already. So that's going to remain.
So the berm is gonna be about as tall as these desks.
Maybe a little bit, yeah, 30 inches, probably something, yeah, somewhere close to the height of the desk. But it's going to be spread over a width of approximately 10 feet.
So it's only gonna be 30 inches in the middle.
Right, it's got to be mounded up.
Right.
And come back down.
That'll be its highest point.
Yeah. If you go out there, there's kind of like I think it's been artificially raised there 8, 9, 10 inches already, you know, previously. So you can get a sense that maybe that some effort was done to kind of raise the grade there. We're just gonna kind of accentuate that so that there's a better buffer from the parking lot to the neighbors.
Any last questions for Mike before we open it up? Yeah, for the board's consideration, we have a comment from DPW that in keeping with the original site plan, the proposed shrub planting shall be entirely on the owner's property and shall not encroach on the city right-of-way.
Okay, we can do that. Right now, the way that the plan is shown, that berm does stretch, apparently, if this is true, over the right-of-way line, but it would make the berm a little narrower. Instead of 10 feet wide, it would be 7-ish feet. But we can certainly make an effort to keep the plants on the YMCA property side of that line.
The way this is written, it's the proposed shrub plantings and
Right.
doesn't speak to the,
Right, doesn't speak to the berm, and I think it's sort of from your description of the ground cover, is it really a shrub versus, I'm not
Well-
quite sure where the line is.
Yeah, it's,
and the second item from the DPW was a trench permit from the DPW is required to plant the trees in the right-of-way.
okay.
So thank you, Mike. Any last questions for Berkshire Design?
My only question was, so is that dashed line is indicative of the property line or the,
The dashed line closest to those existing trees, that's supposed to represent the edge or the start of the new berm. The property line, maybe if I can just point it out.
yeah, is this heavier line?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yep.
So it goes,
It
I
kind
guess
of
you gotta bring it back a couple
goes right
feet.
through, yeah, there. I mean, that's one of the, I guess, the found property.
Yeah.
So there's a bend in the line somewhere here.
Yeah, I can't see what happened.
Okay, unless, last questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that wants to comment on the amendment to site plan for the YMCA plantings?
Question, is any of this planting going to happen over at the entrance to Woodlawn Avenue?
Can I get your name and address?
Jean Tracy.
Thanks, Jean. Do you mind answering, Mike?
No, this is all on Massasoit Street.
All right, I opened public hearing for this one, so I'm
Motion to close public hearing?
Tess and John close the public hearing. Someone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve amendment to planting plan for YMCA, 286 Prospect Street, conditioned on DPW permits.
All in favor? Oh, second.
And no
And-
shrub planting within the right-of-way.
And no shrub planting.
Two conditions.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor? Opposed? Dan Felton, opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion. We sort of went, this motion to close.
Oh,
Half discussion.
my bad.
Well, it's gonna be half the size. It's gonna be 5 feet wide, roughly, instead of 10 feet. So it's gonna be 5 feet wide, 30 inches tall. It's gonna be like that. Yeah, I think it'll be awkward.
So the other thing is the motion's technically, you're not narrowing the berm, only narrowing the shrubbery.
Right.
So I wrote down as planting the shrubbery. The shrubbery's gonna grow
Okay.
towards it, so.
So it'll tend to crest over it, yeah. But it will be that it'll have to be
Right.
mulch, weeded mulch maintained.
And trash picked out of it.
Right. Sorry, I should have.
Yep.
there was
Help me
something
along here.
there.
We finished the agenda. Any other items wants to bring up?
Move adjourned.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.